In a quiet corner of the African continent, nestled between the hills and the flowing rivers, there existed a peaceful village named Riverhill. Riverhill was a place where everyone knew each other, where children played under the sunset skies, and elders sat on wooden stools under mango trees to tell stories from the past. The people lived simple lives, farming the land and selling their goods in nearby towns. It was in this humble village that a young man named Daniel Thompson lived. Daniel was known throughout Riverhill for his hardworking nature and soft heart. He was tall, with deep brown eyes and skin that had been kissed by the sun. His clothes were always worn and faded, but he wore them with quiet pride. Daniel inherited his small farm from his late father, and although the land was not much, he treated it like gold. Every morning before the cock crowed, Daniel was already in his field, digging, watering, and praying for good harvests. He believed in hard work, honesty, and above all, love. Daniel was in love with a girl named Grace Miller. Grace was the village beauty, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Miller, who ran a small provision store near the community square. She had bright eyes, smooth skin, and a smile that made even the wind pause. From a young age, Daniel and Grace were close friends. They fetched water from the same stream, danced during the village festivals, and shared roasted corn under the moonlight. As they grew older, Daniel's feelings deepened. He knew he didn't have much to offer, but he promised Grace that one day he would give her the life she deserved. Grace liked Daniel, but she wanted more. She had dreams of living in a big house, wearing fancy clothes, and traveling beyond Riverhill. Her dreams were influenced by her cousins who visited from the city, dressed in shiny clothes and holding the latest phones. Her mother, Catherine, often told her, "Grace, love doesn't pay bills. You need to marry wisely. Daniel is a good man, but he's poor." Then one day, Riverhill welcomed a visitor that would change Grace's life forever. Gregory Benson, a wealthy businessman in his late 60s, arrived in the village. Gregory had left Riverhill as a young man and made his fortune in construction and real estate. Now retired, he returned to build a mansion in the village and live out his remaining days in peace. He was rich, powerful, and lonely. Gregory had lost 2 wives and had children living abroad. He wanted companionship, and when he saw Grace at the market, he knew she was the one. Gregory didn't waste time. He sent gifts to Grace's parents: bags of rice, oil, drinks, fine wrappers, and an envelope full of money. He promised to change their lives. Mr. Miller was hesitant, but Catherine saw the opportunity. She convinced Grace that marrying Gregory would end their suffering. "He's rich, Grace. You'll live like a queen," she said. Grace broke the news to Daniel one afternoon by the riverside. He had come with roasted yam and palm oil, hoping to share lunch with her. She sat him down and said, "Daniel, I can't marry you. Gregory Benson has asked for my hand. My parents have agreed." Daniel stared at her, his heart pounding. "Grace, you said you loved me. You said we'd build a life together, even if it was small." Grace looked away. "I'm sorry, I can't live in poverty, Daniel. I want more." Daniel didn't speak. He simply nodded, stood up, and walked away. That night, he didn't sleep. He lay on his mat, staring at the thatched ceiling, replaying every moment they'd shared. The next day, he went back to his farm, his heart heavy, but his resolve stronger. Days passed slowly, then weeks, then months. Every memory of Grace became a silent pain that fueled his determination. Grace became Mrs. Benson. The wedding was grand. People came from nearby villages. Gregory built her a wardrobe filled with gold and lace, gave her a driver, and filled her hands with jewelry. But the happiness was short-lived. Gregory was controlling and cold. He didn't let her speak unless spoken to. He treated her like a trophy, not a wife. She ate alone, slept alone, and cried herself to sleep. Grace realized that money could buy things, but not joy. But before Daniel's breakthrough, Grace's tie in the marriage began to wear thin. Though she wore expensive clothes and lived in a mansion, her spirit was bound in sorrow. Gregory grew colder with each passing day. He no longer gave her the attention he once showered her with. Instead, he spent most of his time abroad or locked away in his study. Grace tried to talk to her parents, but her mother only said, "You made your choice, my dear. Make it work." Grace began to feel like a stranger in her own life. The mansion walls echoed with silence. She missed laughter, she missed conversation, and most of all, she missed the simplicity of love. Sometimes at night, she would sit by the window and cry, remembering the days when Daniel made her laugh with silly jokes and roasted yam. Then as Grace's marriage turned into a cold arrangement, Daniel's life took a surprising turn. One afternoon, a team of government officials came to Riverhill. They were starting an initiative to support local farmers with training and equipment. Daniel, known for his dedication, was selected. He traveled to the city, attended seminars, and learned new farming techniques. The government gave him seedlings, irrigation tools, and access to loans. Daniel returned to Riverhill with knowledge and confidence. He expanded his farm, planted crops that sold in high demand, and started a cooperative with other farmers. He began supplying to big markets in the city. In 3 years, Daniel became one of the richest men in the region. But unlike Gregory, he remained humble. He built a school for the village, donated to the health center, and employed young people. He also started a youth mentorship program where he taught young men and women skills like poultry farming, beekeeping, and business management. Parents in Riverhill proudly told stories of how their children, once unemployed and idle, were now contributing to the family thanks to Daniel's guidance. Churches and mosques began calling him to speak about perseverance and faith. One sunny day, Daniel met a woman named Emily. She was a teacher transferred to the new school he built. Emily was calm, supportive, and intelligent. She had a gentle way of speaking and always carried a book in her hand. Unlike Grace, she was not swayed by riches or clothes. They became friends, and slowly their friendship turned into love. Daniel proposed to her under the old mango tree where he once sat heartbroken, and she said yes. Their wedding was simple but filled with laughter, joy, and genuine love. Grace heard about Daniel's success. She saw his name in the newspapers. One headline read, "From poor farmer to village hero, Daniel Thompson changes lives." She stared at the photo, her hands trembling. She remembered how she once called his dreams foolish. Her heart sank. She returned to Riverhill one day, dressed in a simple gown, hiding behind sunglasses. She found Daniel distributing scholarships to students. When their eyes met, she felt weak. After the event, she walked up to him. "Daniel," she said, her voice shaking, "it's me, Grace." Daniel looked at her kindly. "Grace, it's been a while." She burst into tears. "I made a terrible mistake. I left a man who truly loved me. I thought money would make me happy, but I've been living in a golden prison. Please forgive me." Daniel smiled gently. "I forgave you a long time ago. You taught me something important. Never give up on yourself." Just then, Emily walked over with their son. Grace's heart shattered as she saw the peaceful joy on their faces. "Meet my family," Daniel said. Grace nodded, forcing a smile. "She's beautiful. You deserve all this, Daniel." She left the village that day, her heart heavy with regret. Gregory died a few months later, and she was left alone in the big mansion, with no children, no friends, and no peace. The once vibrant girl who dreamed of the city now found herself wandering empty hallways with no laughter and no love. Daniel, on the other hand, thrived. He continued to bless Riverhill with his generosity, supported young farmers, and told his story to inspire others. He never spoke ill of Grace. He simply said, "Sometimes the pain we feel today becomes the strength we need tomorrow." Emily often reminded their children about the power of faith, patience, and kindness, and how their father once rose from the dust to become a pillar of hope. Riverhill celebrated Daniel's story for generations, and his name became a symbol of resilience. And so, the poor farmer who was once abandoned became the light of Riverhill, and the girl who chased riches found herself alone in a mansion, haunted by what could have been.